Welcome to the Tower Yoga Podcast, where we dive deep into the heart of yoga and community. Come along with us as we explore the transformative power of yoga, share insights, and inspire one another on this journey of life. I'm Kellee Williams, and I'm your host and the co-founder of Tower Yoga. Thank you for joining our yoga community. Welcome in Tower Yogis and beyond. This has been a very long time coming. It is our very first Tower Yoga podcast. And so in thinking about where to start with the podcast, it only makes sense to begin at the beginning, the origin story, if you will. And because Jameson is not here, I can't necessarily speak for his experience and his background. We'll maybe have to have him on in the future to give his version of our origin story. But I want to give you my version of our origin story. So let's give a brief description of where I entered yoga. The practice of yoga found me, I like to say, in my teenage years. And I started taking in-person classes right here in the Tower District. And I'll leave people's names out just to protect their privacy. I didn't get their permission to use their names, but there was a teacher here in the Tower who I was taking classes with. And I have this visceral memory of being in Shavasana, one of those classes, and looking up through what was like a skylight, and I could see the lights glimmering and shining from Tower Theater. And in that moment, I had the first feeling and belief that I could do something. And not only that I could do it, but I wanted to. I thought I could teach yoga. I could become a yoga teacher. And the reason why that's so powerful is because I was pretty much done with school by first grade. I asked my parents, I really didn't want to go back. I told them after my first day of first grade, I don't want to go back. And is it okay if I just go to work with them? And, they said no. And they said, you'll get used to it. I don't think I ever really did, to be honest. And I never really had a dream job or anything in mind. I can even remember being asked that question by teachers or at, promotion or graduation ceremonies to say your name and say what the job is that you want to do someday. And I could never think of anything. There was just nothing that I genuinely wanted to do. So it was so powerful in that moment in Shavasana to feel that I could do something, maybe even as a job, and that it would be something exciting and nourishing and fulfilling, meaningful. So that's kind of where it started. And I went on to continue to practice and do a teacher training and teach at a lot of different places, studios, gyms, hot springs, random corporate kind of gigs like at Gap. And there was just this longing that I had in my heart for community. I was a part of a lot of different sectors, I guess, different yoga communities, other kinds of communities. And I thought, it would just be so cool if there was a central kind of meeting point for all of my worlds to collide. I couldn't really see how that could happen. But I was doing my thing, teaching all around and learning a lot. The inception point of actually beginning to think of how I could open a studio, if I'm really, really honest, I had this idea through my 20s as I was teaching at all these places. Maybe some point when I'm in my 40s, I could open a studio when my kid is grown up and, that'll be my passion project. And I was approached by one of my yoga students who was a therapist, and she worked specifically with people with PTSD, more specifically with veterans. And that was cool to me because my mom worked at the VA, Veterans Hospital, for her entire career, over 30 years. She just retired. And when I was like 11 or 12, she got my sister and I into volunteering at the nursing home, I think to kind of keep us out of trouble in the summers. And then when I turned 18, I got a job as a barista in a little coffee stand inside the lobby of the VA. So I had this interesting history with it. When I got into my 20s, I became a part of a program called No Vet Dies Alone. It's, you go and you sit with vets who are actively passing away, who don't have family or what have you to witness them, to be with them. And so it's just an interesting part of my karma. Okay, so this student approaches me. She wants to open up a yoga studio in Visalia. She wants it to be half group yoga classes and half where she could work one-on-one with people in therapy. And I'm like, this is a really cool idea. At the time, I was interested in pivoting in some big way because I was post-divorce with a small child, trying to make ends meet, pretty broke, pretty burnt out from teaching 20 plus classes a week. So I thought, this is an answer to a prayer. How amazing. And I have this interesting history with it too. And we went and we looked at places. We looked at an old church to try to convert that into the facility. And it was really exciting. But as the story goes, it didn't work out. It didn't come together in the end. And I had been talking about it with Jameson. Most of you know, but if you don't know, that's my husband and the co-founder of Tower Yoga. And he and I were like, well, this actually really inspires us to think outside of the box. And could we open up a studio? Is that something I'm going to put off until, later? And so we're talking about it. We're sort of back and forth. And we have a student who attends both of our classes. He was actually a student who followed me at different locations. So he had multiple memberships at all these different places I was teaching at. And which, it's interesting, but it wasn't entirely uncommon to have a few people who did that. And he overheard us in conversation one day and said, I have a business proposition for you, and I would like to meet with you. So I will leave this person's, I'll leave him nameless. But we met up with this yoga student who had a proposition for us. And essentially, he met with us and said, I want to open up a yoga studio. I don't teach yoga. I don't have the experience. I'm definitely not going to be able to do the running of like managing the studio and taking care of the day-to-day stuff. So he said, I'm very observant. Kellee, I see you've been teaching for a long time. You have quite a little following. Jameson, I see that you are really good with organization, with spreadsheets. You're on it. And I think the two of you can run a yoga studio. And we were definitely floored. Both of us had credit cards maxed out. I'm just going to be very transparent. I hope you're all happy and okay with that. So we were both broke. Jameson had moved to Fresno. He's not from here, to help out with some family stuff. He left a PhD program, was just teaching a few yoga classes, teaching acro with me. As I said, this will be another podcast, but I was post-divorce, trying to make ends meet. Both of us are just doing that yoga teacher hustle, credit cards maxed out, crazy. So we're like, we literally have no way to put in any capital into this, and he's like, oh, don't worry. I've got that. But what I don't have is everything that you'll be able to put into it to actually make it a thriving business. We'll figure out the details later about how to, buy into quote unquote, like equal partnership. Right. Okay. So just painting a picture. We're in this place where we're like burnt out, broke. We have this dream. We're praying. We're trying to manifest this into existence. And a student of ours, regular student, was regular for a long time, came to us with this. We thought, amazing. He'd gone to business school. He had money. It was just things that we weren't, a part of. We didn't come with. So we thought, let's give it a go. Let's give it a go. And we met with him and his lawyers. We read through a bunch of legal jargon that we didn't super understand. We signed it. Yeah, some of you were like, no, we did. So without fully, I think, understanding what we were getting into, there you go. And from there, we start looking for a place. We start looking for, all right, well, where could we have a yoga studio? James and I both lived in the Tower District. I lived in the Tower District for a long time. It's where my yoga journey, as far as in-person classes, really started. And I thought, I'm leaving Tower every day, driving all around Fresno and even surrounding areas. And I'm like, where's all the Tower people? Where's all the Tower people? And I bet you if there was a yoga studio in Tower, not only would lots of people come to it, but I think people who wouldn't otherwise practice would come. And also, I would like to have a yoga studio in my neighborhood where I go, and hang out and where my kid goes to school. And yeah, so I really advocate for Tower, Jameson as well. Our business partner at the time really didn't like it. He, didn't like that Tower was, let's just say, a little rough around the edges. But we convinced him. And so we're looking at different spaces. And to be honest, I was thinking about some tiny little spot that was, quaint, but beautiful, easy to manage, easy to run. At this point, I'm thinking we'll probably have a handful of teachers, but I was thinking really mom and pop. I was thinking very quaint, y'all. I was like, yeah, I'll just wake up and I'll walk over and I'll teach a couple classes and I'll clean and then I'll go home and then maybe like Jameson will teach the evening and we'll have one or two more people do the weekends. Like I was thinking it was just going to be this cute little thing. So we're looking at all these places, meeting with our business partner at the time, and he just is like, no, none of these places are big enough. And he wanted it to be like big and beautiful and grandiose. And so he finds this spot that's been empty for a long time next to Goldstein's. We walk in, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. It was old medical buildings. There was some weird kitchen in it. It was a strange vibe. And it was huge. It was so big. I was thinking, I can't imagine, like, what? Is this going to be like 20 studios in one? And he was like, no, we're going to make it full service. We're going to have these gorgeous bathrooms. There'll be marble. We'll have this lobby and then a studio. And my brain was just like exploding because, as I said, I was thinking very quaint. I was thinking like one room. The teacher has a laptop or something handheld, checks you in, maybe even just a sign-up sheet, like on a piece of paper. I was thinking like real quaint, like what? and maybe a changing room. I wasn't thinking that it was going to be fully staffed with like desk support and like shifts on the schedule and all these kinds of things. So I was a hard sell, but I trusted his vision in the fact that, yeah, like the showers for the hot yoga is important and a moment of luxury in people's day in these bathrooms is going to be really, really nice. Like, let's do the river rock. Like, let's do the marble. In my head, I'm thinking, I know how much the initial investment was, and those bathrooms alone are going to eat up that. I don't understand how this is all going to go, but I'm not really a money person. I'm not a financial person. I don't understand. So I kind of kept to myself and trusted the vision. we get into continuing this build out. It not only takes a lot longer than we think, but as it goes, our business partner starts uh, really opening up to us about how much over the budget we're going. So James and I are like, let's stop going over the budget. Let's just frickin' open right now. We don't need all these fancy things. Like we need a room and like a music player and like, we got this, you know? And, but that won't do. It's clear. And this is where Jameson and I start feeling, something is a little off here. I think we are not fully aligned on, how this is all going to come together. And it's clear we don't really have a say so much in everything that's happening in this build out. So, we kind of get in line. We turn into some good little soldiers and things carry on as they will. We have some uncomfortable encounters with this business partner, some encounters where we get treated really, really poorly. Okay, really, really poorly. Jameson and I, we just kind of look at each other and we say, we're in this for the long haul, but we got ourselves into some deep, deep stuff. Okay, doo-doo. But we believe in like what we are trying to bring forth. And if we can stick together, we're going to get through this, but this might be a situation. This is going to be a situation. So finally, we end up opening and it's beautiful. Jameson and I are absolutely in love with the community, with the teachers that have come on board. And although it wasn't our original vision, the studio's gorgeous and we are elated. From that point, we're really just focusing on our inspiration for opening in the first place, which in full transparency, first and foremost, was kind of a necessity for, I feel like, the natural progression of where James and I were both at in our own teaching careers in our lives. So I never want to come off like it's just completely altruistic, that there's no part in any of this offering that is for me or has been born from a place of, my own dreams and desires for my own life. Okay. There is that. And there was that, a desire to be able to offer something I love, to cultivate community and to thrive and not just survive. Right. So there was that. And then really the stability I felt like owning a studio could provide would give me so much more energy rather than all of the energy I was expending into dipping in and out of all these various communities. I felt like, what could I do with that energy if I were to be able to funnel it and focus it in one direction, right? Single pointed focus. So there was that. And then the main inspiration and vision that I had outside of just seeing a yoga studio and having a yoga studio in Tower in my neighborhood, in my community, was really cultivating this community. So yoga for myself and Jameson too is a method to do just that. The mission is really around community. That's like the goal. And yoga is one part of the how. Yoga asana, yoga philosophy, all these kinds of things. So that was the main inspiration and vision. And honestly, it's like, that saying, like, build it and they will come. It's really true. People were coming in from every which way. And I felt like I was just holding the space and I was showing up and I was teaching and cleaning and listening and being with people, and the community was developing just before my eyes. It was incredible. That was so gorgeous and so beautiful. And to see a dream realized before your very eyes, I hope that's just something I hope that every single person, every single one of you out there listening, if that hasn't already been something that you've experienced in a small or big way, I pray that for you. I wish that for you. It is something that you're like, this is the stuff. This is the fabric of existence. Like, this is why we're here. It felt very much like this is why I'm here. Very on purpose, let's say. At the same time, there was this kind of split, right, in my heart of creating this space with a person who we didn't align with, who I don't feel like had the best intentions and the same intentions for opening up a studio as I did, as we did, as Jameson and I did. So there was that to balance, to recognize, to hold, and straight up just deal with. And it was hard. Jameson and I, even through all that time, a lot of relationship things came up, being very transparent. Might even be a little oversharing here, but James and I had relationship things coming up through all that because just the demands of starting a new business, the sheer hours and energy that you put in, plus having that riff with our business partner, it was hard. It was really, really hard. And honestly, there were so many times I kind of just wanted to give up. But this community would pull me back in and encourage me to stand like a rock in the eye of the storm, to be and to kind of wait this thing out. Big sigh. Let's all take a deep breath in together. Inhale and exhale. So there's incredible things happening, and there's so much love and so much beauty and so much that's very rewarding. That's, getting me through at this time. And then also those challenges. So the challenges started to be more frequent. Sometimes our business partner would take off and go dark for months on end. He had control of all the financials, so weird stuff would happen in the financial realm and world of the studio, and we didn't really have access to remedy that, and we didn't have access to him, the business guy, the business person in the partnership. So that started to create some rifts within our staff, the employees. And then he'd come back around. And he would have private meetings with different employees that would make a divide between Jameson and I and them. He'd take off after making all these weird promises or saying things to them, and they would come to Jameson and I and want to see those things realized. Those were promises we had no idea about. Even if we did have an idea about them, we would have no way of actually following through on those things. So it was bad. It was bad. It was really bad. And honestly, it was all coming to a head where I didn't see how we could continue on. And then guess what happened? 2020, the pandemic. And in that pandemic, we had time to pause, to listen, to gather, reflect. There were also people who came forward, employees and students, with concerns and different bits of information about our business partner. It gave us enough, I think, fuel to seek legal counsel. And we ended up, through a pandemic, also going through a really intense, really intense legal battle. And that was multiple years, also getting through a pandemic, which we had to immediately shut down, fire everyone. Jameson and I didn't pay ourselves. We sold a car, a bike, all kinds of things in our house to pay our mortgage, and just tried to keep the business going. And through 50 very, very loyal members who kept their membership even though we were closed down, Tower Yoga was able to, well, really metaphorically at that point, keep our doors open. So it's through those 50 members. I mean, I could never give enough gratitude. And if you're listening and if you've been a member with us since we opened and you stayed strong through the pandemic and through the shutdown, you are one part of why Tower Yoga still exists today. So thank you. James and I just carried through, and we had a really good lawyer who, even though we were super stressed and super down and super shocked from all the unsavory things that we learned about this business partner, big stuff. I won't get into the details of it, but I do think that we'll make a docuseries someday. It's just absolutely insane. But getting through the pandemic, getting through this legal battle, getting through the burnout and the relationship stuff and the financial struggles, the studio slowly but surely reopened, and James and I settled in court. This business partner is no longer in any way, shape, or form a part of Tower Yoga. He's actually not even allowed to come near any location of Tower Yoga. So there's that. We have overcome so very much. So very much. I want to mention that this idea of like the importance of community in yoga is so important, because we wouldn't be here without the whole community in any way, shape, or form. And if I take it all the way back to the student who had originally approached me and asked if I wanted to open up a yoga studio with her, she put that in my heart and my mind that it was something to do, and it was something that I could potentially achieve, not someday in the far, far future, but like now. She really like hyped me up. And that was amazing. And she allowed me to see a part of myself that I just couldn't see without the reflection of like looking into her as a mirror. And when we opened, on the opening day, she bought us this really expensive bike rack because she knows how much we love bicycles. And she knew how many people would ride their bicycles to class just because it's Tower and people tend to do that a little bit more. And so she bought us our bike rack that was really expensive, and she was so sweet to do that. And we'll get into this later about the expansion of the Lotus Room of Tower Yoga, our second location. But, we ended up moving that bike rack, and it's in front of the Lotus Room. And it's just it's so full circle. And Ram Dass has that quote, "We're all here just walking each other home." And I think that community gives us a sense of belonging, not that we belong or anyone else owns us, but that we have a place and we have support. And if the pandemic did teach us anything, it really taught us that we're better together. If you can remember all those quotes that were coming out of the time to get us through. And we wouldn't have even got through that without each other and our own small communities and the larger community, the global community. There's just no way. I don't think we were meant to do this life alone. And we weren't meant to heal in a vacuum, and there's a lot of that going on just in our regular group classes. So the devotion the devotion, not the obligation, but the deep devotion and responsibility I feel and felt to this community is what kept me going during really, really, really dark times, and what kept a little tiny flame, even when it got so teeny tiny, like a little candle in my heart, kept it going when I thought, what did I get myself into? Why am I doing this? I can't do this. This is too hard. No one knows what I'm going through. We didn't talk to anyone. I've wanted to start this podcast for a long time. And one of the big reasons why I haven't done it is because of this right here. I haven't felt ready to share with, the world what we've gone through to be here. Y'all, it's dark. It's murky. It's ugly. Like the lotus flower, though, we've made it through that mud and blossomed. And it's beautiful. It's aromatic. It's the leaves are repellent of all the BS. It can just roll off just like a lotus flower. Leaves are water repellent, So it's gorgeous, but it's if I could dedicate the rest of my life to giving back to community in the way that I've been poured into, which is so important because Tower Yoga is a way that I am realizing my purpose on this planet. Now, will that evolve and change someday? Maybe. Of course. Who knows? I don't know. But it's definitely a huge piece to, my personal soul's puzzle. And it's just incredible. The growth and success of the studio has been amazing. We have led multiple international retreats, multiple teacher trainings. We have only expanded and grown. And it's not because we've been freaking numbers focused. Okay. Our business model is like rooted in love. Jameson and I, we believe that. He literally tells that to every single employee at our staff meetings. Don't freak out over your class sizes. It's not about like just the bottom line. It's let's focus on how much we can love our community, love ourselves, love each other. And the numbers happen, they do. So it's been incredible. The ways in which people share how this community, not just the yoga classes, but the community that surrounds the yoga, the extra offerings that we do, whether it's, run club or book club or a clothing swap or a women's circle or a sound bath or a dream matrix, social dreaming workshop, all these things, that the way people come to us and share that how it's impacted their personal lives, whether it's helped them get through grief, addiction, or it's just allowed them to optimize their already flourishing life. The ways in which people get closer to themselves and therefore to their partners and their families and their larger communities. I mean, it's enough. I could cry. I could cry just even thinking about certain members and, their faces coming to mind and their stories. We have expanded into so much. It was just James and I for so long. And then we hired back a few of the teachers who were with us before the pandemic and then slowly started building. Farron did our teacher training. We'd known her from the running community, liked her a lot. She was like the epitome of just an ideal student in the training. And we saw the ways in which she was living the yoga that she was learning and deepening into, and were inspired by that. So when she asked to teach for us, or maybe we even asked her, do you want to teach? I can't even remember at this point, but I want to say maybe we sought her out. It was just like, of course, like it's so natural, of course. And then, to get to know her more and eventually bring her on as the studio manager. Tower Yoga wouldn't be where we are without her what she brings to the table, how she allows us to carry on in a good way. Jameson has a full-time job outside of this. He teaches at the community college. Yes, there's a theme, community, community, community. He teaches at the community college. His job is how we pay our bills. We are interested, definitely, in making money through all the hard work that we put into Tower Yoga, but we didn't want, when we came back, for this studio to be something that we had to look at as a thing that was going to make or break us. Could we get to a place someday where he could quit his full-time job and we could sustain our lives just through being studio owners? Sure, that would be cool. That'd be great, But right now it's great too, because A, he loves teaching. He really does. And B, we aren't looking at this place of oh God, our survival, So it really is such a passion from our hearts. But also, without having Farron being able to do all of these ins and outs that he used to do, he wouldn't really be able to have his full-time job, to be honest. And we would be forced to kind of look at this place as oh God, gotta keep the lights on at home, So that, it's just so beautiful. It allows me to be able to stay in my own zone, in my own lane, which, to be quite honest, doesn't entail all of the client management and the emails. I'm down. She forwards me stuff. I take a look. I can get on and help someone with their account, but I really want to live in the creative and the vision. She's super creative too. But I like to keep a bird's eye view on this. And I really feel like I hold a big, 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 big flame for this place. And it requires me to be able to get out of the details of the day-to-day in order to bring to life so many things that we have here, And we have expanded into hiring on a creative team that helps with content, with social media, and just kind of sharing our story, letting everyone know what's happening. And it's been really cool. We have extended into another location. Last year, we took on a second location called the Lotus Room. It's behind Component Coffee. And just to circle back, we were teaching pop-up classes there during the build-out. Remember how I said that the build-out took way longer than we thought? Well, Jameson and I planned to teach at all those other studios and different places until we opened, but I didn't get it at the time. But all those studio owners, they were like, this is a conflict of interest. You're building another yoga studio. We do not want you to teach here anymore. Please turn in your keys. Here's your last paycheck. And I was thinking at the time, man, how lack mindset, what the heck? What are you afraid of? And now as a studio owner, got a few more years under my belt. If you're out there, if you're listening, I don't know why you would be, but if any of you old bosses of mine and studio owners are listening, I get you. I get you. I didn't get you then. I couldn't. There's just no way I could. But I do now, and I understand. And thank you for bearing with me. So we were like, uh-oh, we need to figure this out. So we went to it was called the back room at the time. The review were the owners of that space, or they were leasing that space, and we rented from them. Jeff from Ampersand, who used to own the review as well, he let us use it for free, and we just did pay what you can, and it was so cool. And to get even more for full circle, when I was first getting into yoga as a teen, I was also into mysticism, Eastern mysticism. I was starting to get into reading some poetry from Kabir and Hafiz. And, I remember there being poetry nights in that back room, and burlesque shows and punk shows and all kinds of things. And, I would sneak out and I would go to the back room and I would attend these things, and I was waking up. I was awakening. And so this room, this space has had a really huge. It's played a pivotal role in my own awakening. And then so to be back in that space and to be teaching these pop-ups, and the community started developing already then. People were coming from people I already knew, but from all around the neighborhood and coming in and just paying what they could to take classes. And I thought, how full circle is this? Come, to find out later, not to find out, but I could never imagine to realize later that we would take on that space as a second location. It's even more full circle. I'm just like, oh my goodness, you can't make this up. You just can't make this stuff up. I imagine what my 17-year-old self in Shavasana looking up through the skylight and seeing the blinking lights of Tower Theater and thinking, I could be a yoga teacher, who was also attending these poetry slams and things like that in the back room behind the review. To imagine that I would have a studio or a couple studios in the same area is just like, wow. We have this space, and we originally took it on as somewhere where we could do teacher training without canceling classes and workshops and all that kind of stuff. But things evolve. You have your plans, and then life happens and you adjust accordingly. And so we started to build out more of a schedule of regularly held classes at the Lotus Room. And then just through listening to you all, people out there who attend our studio, thinking about, you want more classes, you want more options for non-heated stuff. So we have decided to officially, starting in May, open up that studio as a fully functioning, expanded schedule, non-heated yoga studio. So there will now be classes during the day, extended classes. We'll extend the schedule at night. There will be Saturday classes there. There's going to be a couple live stream options. We're bringing back free yoga on Saturdays. We had that before the pandemic where brand new teachers or newish teachers could come and just get seasoned a little bit. And then people in the community could come for free, especially if maybe they have a harder time accessing as much yoga as they want. So it's so very exciting. And that is our most recent expansion in the story of Tower Yoga. And we're excited about future possibilities with the space. We have gotten through a pandemic. We have gotten through a very gnarly business partnership. That's done. And we're allowing ourselves to unwind and soften from the hardening that did happen. It's true. And we're thinking, like, what are all the possibilities? So we're thinking about offering a 300-hour yoga teacher training to add to our 200. Future locations, extending and growing outside of the Tower area, maybe. Not in the near future, but the possibilities are endless. Why not? We'll have to just continue to put our hearts and our ears to the earth and listen, and see what could happen. But all I know is that this has been one heck of a ride so far. James and I tell this to the whole team all the time, that we consider ourselves very, 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 very new business owners. We're 5.5 years in. But to be honest, for those first few years, we were struggling and we were going through a lot and we were just staying afloat. So really, I would say that we're within our first couple years, within our first year or so as the full business owners, without all of the activation, let's call it, and the charge around the difficult stuff that we made it through. But before I round this up, I want to express so much gratitude to everyone along the way. So I want to express gratitude to all those said old bosses. Thank you very much. To Even I want to express gratitude to that ex-business partner. I really do, because we wouldn't be here without him. I would never wish that upon anyone. I would never want to go through that again. But I am grateful nonetheless. That was part of the journey to get us here. So I will definitely express gratitude to that individual and to that time in my life. I want to also express gratitude to any old employees who were, quite frankly, collateral damage in all of that. We parted ways with some people, and to be honest, they might feel hurt. They might not fully understand, what was going down. Maybe they are listening to this right now and have a little bit more of an idea. And if not, that's okay too. That's okay too. I do have to own my part in all of that. And quite frankly, I was confused. And quite frankly, I was manipulated. And I might have acted out of that manipulation and confusion. And that's on me. I'm not going to speak for Jameson, but I know he feels similarly. I won't speak exactly for him, though. So thank you. Thank you to any of you old employees that needed to part ways because it just wasn't aligned. I understand. I get it. Thank you very much. I want to thank any old members, and I want to thank the members who have been with us from the beginning. I want to thank new members who are just starting out. I want to thank future members. Maybe you haven't tried us out yet, but you're hearing this podcast. Please come on down. The water's fine. And I want to thank our staff. Currently, we wouldn't be who we are without you all. And although that wasn't a part of my original vision, to have this big, huge, for lack of better words, machine, right? It is what it's become. It's what was necessary. It's what was needed. It's what's here. And there's literally no way I'd be able to do that. There's just no way. So I want to thank everyone who's with us now, teachers and desk support and the creative team, Farron, our manager. I want to thank the broader community as well, not just the yoga community, but we've been received in such a beautiful way in the Tower District and even beyond. So I want to thank the broader, Fresno community. Thank anyone who's ever done a teacher training with us, anyone who will be in the future if you've had it in your heart. Thank you. Thank you already. So there's just so much gratitude. I kind of want to end on that for the most part. I will share with you what our current mission, vision, and values are before I let you go. This is something that's evolving and changing, and they are really, really encompassing of what we're about here. So the current mission is this. At Tower Yoga, we believe the power of community is a co-created phenomenon that brings together individuals in a safe and welcoming space. Our studio embraces the beauty of the human spectrum, fostering a friendly, loving, and accessible atmosphere for all. The practice of yoga serves as our medium of connection and is the glue strengthening these bonds. We invite you to join us at Tower Yoga, where you are welcome to participate in the fullness of our inclusive and thriving yoga community. Together, we build bridges of connection, growth, and well-being for everyone involved. Our vision. Tower Yoga is an intentional space dedicated to nurturing the transformative journey of inner harmony, empathy, and self-exploration. Within this little nook of the world, we wholeheartedly embrace the pursuit of ancient yogic teachings, fostering a profound connection to the timeless wisdom that they embody. Our commitment lies in playing a pivotal role in the shared awakening of humankind on our planet. At Tower Yoga, we exult in the distinct, individuality that each person embodies, while zealously uniting in our quest of purposeful togetherness. In connection and trust, we walk the sacred path of remembering. That is our vision. The values we created with our staff, these will probably be evolving, but for now, this is what they are. Community and individuality, support, growth, intentionality, teamwork, dharma or duty, reciprocity, possibility and opportunity, respect, diversity, and inclusion. These are our values. They're not perfect things. They're things that we're striving towards. James and I will be the first people to tell you we are so far from perfect. It's scary, but we're working on it. We don't expect perfection from you or anyone on the staff, but that if we have these values to anchor on, and if we're trying to align and work towards these things, then we're doing pretty good. You're doing pretty good. So that is what I have for you today. Again, like I said, maybe a little oversharing. Definitely super transparent, but that's what I want to be for you all. That's who I am. That's who Kellee is, myself at the core. And that is who and how I prefer to share. So thank you so much for making it all the way here to the end. If you're still here, please join us on May 4th for our grand opening of the Lotus Room. It'll be fun. It's from 1 to 3. There's lots of different stuff happening. There's some bites and some refreshments. DJ Groovy Drew will be there. Shaja, who's on the support staff, will be doing some interpretive dance, and some other friends might perform some music. We also have a big collective art piece that's going to be going down, like a communal art piece that Hannah Vasquez, the desk support, will be kind of supporting everyone in. So it should be so super fun. And keep your eyes open for the May schedule, for that extended schedule over there in the Lotus Room. Thanks again for listening in and joining our yoga community. If it so resonates, please share this episode with a friend. Remember, the inner light of awareness within me honors the inner light of awareness within you. Until next time, stay grounded, stay present, and keep flowing with grace.